Hello everyone, welcome to a new week here. What we're going to be working on this week is we're going to work on an activity, and this is going to be your assignment for both days this week. You're going to look through different scenarios and you're going to determine if these people should file a tax return. So you will notice on Google Classroom there's two different links. There'll be a link to this PowerPoint that you will need to use to do the activity. And then there's a link to an answer sheet, and this is where you're actually going to be putting in your work. So notice there's a bunch of different people. You're going to determine based on the information given, can this person be claimed as a dependent? So this one's a pretty easy, straightforward yes or no answer. This next box says, is this person legally required to fill out a tax return? Why or why not? So please write and complete sentences and explain why or why not. And then for this part, if no, should they file a tax return? Explain your reasoning. Again, I'd ask for complete sentences, especially since this is our only assignment for this week. I ask that we put forth more effort than maybe usual on an activity like this. This activity is going to be worth 20 points instead of just 10 because there's a little bit more work to do. So if we look at the slide, maybe we'll do the first one together. So should they file a tax return? On the second slide here, and I don't know what's going on up here. If you present, it looks a lot nicer. But the main information, the stuff you need to look at are going to be in the second slide. So it says, as you go through this unit, you may notice that certain tax figures may vary depending on which year the resource was created. Refer to the figures below for the most current tax year. So we're good here, filing in 2020. So it says the standard deduction is $12,200. So here's some different scenarios. If you are a dependent, meaning you rely on somebody else, under the age of 65 and single, you must pay taxes if you earn more than $12,200. So if you made more than $12,200 as a dependent, you do not have to pay taxes. If you received unearned income that is more than $1,100. And we talked about unearned income in the last lesson. Remember, unearned income might be things like allowance. It could be things like child support, those sorts of things. Unearned income, things that you don't earn. And thirdly, it says if your gross income was more than or larger of $1,100 or earned income up to $11,850 plus $350, then you must pay taxes. If you are not a dependent under the age of 65 and single, you must pay taxes if, again, you earn more than $12,200. That's kind of the magic number here. Over here it says regardless of your dependency status, whether you're dependent or not, you must pay taxes if you're self-employed and earn more than $400. Or if you have contributions to all your traditional and Roth IRAs cannot exceed your taxable compensation with a maximum of $6,000 per year for tax year of 2019. So the big ones here, I guess for us as, or for you guys as younger people, basically if you're dependent, you must understand if you earn more than $12,200, you have to file taxes. If not, you do not have to. However, we talked about last time or a couple times ago maybe, that it's still good to file taxes just in case maybe you filled out on your W-4 that you were not tax exempt. You want to file taxes because you might get a return because you didn't have to pay taxes and your employer was actually taking taxes out of your paycheck. So it's still a good idea to file taxes even though you are legally not required to pay taxes. Again, you would file them just to see if you could get some sort of return. Again, this one, if you're not a dependent, this is another important one. Again, if you make less than $12,200, again, you do not have to pay taxes. And if you are self-employed and you make more than $400, you have to pay taxes. So those are kind of the big ones. These other pieces of information in here probably aren't super applicable to where we are right now. So here's the first scenario, and like I said, I'd like to do the first one together just so you understand kind of what it looks like. So here's the first slide. It's for Tim. You're going to have to page back and forth between the slides and your answer sheet. So here it says, Tim, he's 16 years old, he's a high school student, he lives with his parents, he earned $5,200 at his part-time job. So we have to answer these questions, and again, this would go back on our answer sheet. So first off, can this person be claimed as a dependent? Hopefully you would say absolutely yes, right? He's a high school student, he lives at home, under his parents. So he's a dependent of his parents. Next part, is this person legally required to file a tax return? Why or why not? No, we would say. Get a complete sentences here. We'd say no, because he didn't make more. Oops. Make more than the minimum income requirement, which is currently $12,200. Right, and that just comes right from our first slide here. Again, he's a dependent, so I'd look at this category. He has to pay taxes if he earned more than $12,200, which he clearly did not. So that's why we say no. It says, if no, should they file a tax return? Explain your reasoning. Yes, we want to say, right? It's always good to file a tax return because he'd be more likely to get a refund on any taxes that were withheld from his paycheck. That's because he'd be more likely to get a refund on any taxes that were withheld from his paycheck. Again, unless when he filled out his W-4 he put exempt, but again, most people don't, so it would be good for him to file a tax return because he'd most likely get money back. Again, it doesn't hurt to file a tax return, and it's generally pretty simple, and we're going to talk about that in a few lessons here, how to actually file a tax return. But this again is going to be your assignment for the entire week. So you notice there's quite a few people to go through, but I'd ask that you write complete sentences, especially for these two boxes here. Again, for this last one, if it was yes, then you wouldn't even have to answer this one. If no, should they file a tax return? Because they're already filing a tax return, maybe according to this box over here. So some of these in this third column might be left blank. But again, this is the slides. Again, you don't do anything on the slides. You just use the slides to answer the questions on the other sheet. The second slide is super helpful, and this should be your reference going forward. So again, once you watch the video today, you get 10 points just for doing that. And then you get the rest of the week, so the 2 days of activities to work on this project. This project, again, is worth 20 points. As always, if you have questions, please email me at storandflip@gmail.com. Thanks and have a great day.